Welcome to Impact 2022. I am Nathaniel Watkins. I am your host for today. And this is our continuing conversation where we talk about different issues. We talk about current events. We talk about just everything from a religious standpoint. We talk about race. We talk about just social injustice has been one of the constant themes that we've talked about over the course of our program. But this is our continuing conversation, an opportunity for you to be able to type questions and comments and have those addressed. And as we go back and forth and we come to conclusions over the time that we've been here. And this is a conversation. So please feel free to type into the comments section any kind of comments that you may have, any kind of questions that you may have, and they will be addressed. And from time to time, we've had some great comments that really spark conversation and keeps the conversation going. And this is our continuing conversation that we have. And so just like every other Tuesday at 8 o'clock or on whatever delayed device that you may be watching this on, YouTube, Facebook, our website, whatever else, we're going to have our conversation. And so let's start. First off, again, it's 2022, brand new year. People constantly do where they look at and they sit back. And we talked last week about New Year's resolutions or resolutions that we have where we're going through things such as deciding on what we want to give up. Last week we talked specifically about cancel culture, or not even cancel culture, just being slower to anger or slower to cancel people out. And so as we continue on, here we go. There we go. As we continue on, we're going into our topics for 2022. And this week we're talking about something a little different. Talking about something that actually a little bit more positive. Some of the positive, one of the more positive interactions that has gone on over the past year. And so, as you know, we're sitting here in the middle of COVID. We're sitting here in the middle of the Omicron variant. We're sitting here, still have the Delta variant. We're sitting here in what they've called Flovid, which is the flu and COVID mixed in together. We're sitting here in a moment where people are still separated. They're still at their homes. And they're still just not connected. And so one of the things that has been going on and that has been researched is that they're talking about the amount of different activities that we do. And when we're talking about the different activities, the different negative activities that have been lessened. So the number of assaults that has gone down, the number of violent interactions that have gone down. And I know that people have heard about things that have gone up. They're talking about airplane, how people act on the airplanes and things like that. But one of the positive things is that when you're talking about things such as physical bullying, physical violence between teens, when you're talking about harassment, a number of one of the things that have come out is that the number of women who have talked about, because they've been masked up over the last year and really haven't been out, that catcalling has gone down or basically gone away in a lot of people's lives. When they've been talking about as far as just, again, physical violence, being bullied or pushed and attacked, a lot of those have gone down. Now, let's preface that because the statistics have shown that physical violence has gone up. The number of crimes, physical crimes and acts of violence has gone up. However, we're looking in personal lives and people's personal interactions, and a lot of the smaller interactions, not crimes, but just smaller negative interactions that has gone down. Why do I bring that up? Why do I bring up this positive, positive occurrence in this sense? As we get back into going out, as we get back into increased activities with one another. It then comes to the expectation of from two different people, the people who have been bullied or people who have been catcalled, is now you see how it feels not to have these negative occurrences, and you have now a new expectation that this is not going to occur again. And then to the people who we've all been separated, we know how to act, and we know how not to. The things that you were doing, the bullying that we were doing, the mean words that we were doing, and some of the things that we were doing before, we don't need to do again. And let me give a little bit more clarity to that, because I know that may not sound exactly clear, but the clarity is in the sense of, for example, and again, going back to the more so, one of the articles that I recently came across was about women, again, who have said over the last 2 years or last year and a half of COVID, that the amount of stress that they've received from having members of the opposite sex approach them in negative comments and negative ways has gone down. Their stress level has gone down with those interactions. And so from both sides, with the women who were subjected to that may have gotten into a sense of acceptance of some of it. It happens all the time. So you just stop saying, you originally you say y'all need to stop this, and at some point you just keep on walking. Well, now you got an opportunity to refresh, and if it starts up again, you're like, look, I'm not taking this. But then on the opposite side, the gentlemen or the people who think that that's the way to do, you haven't been doing that for a year. You haven't been doing that for a year and a half. You got to let that go and let that die. Let me be clear. We got to let some things go and let some things die. And so as a part of our reintroduction into large gatherings and large activities, there's some things that we weren't able to do over the past year and a half that we don't need to bring back. Like, I can't wait to get back to doing such and such again. I can't wait to get back to doing this again. Well, we shouldn't be sitting here saying, well, I can't wait to get back to harassing people again. I can't wait to get back to being able to bully people again. I can't wait to get back to being able to be mean to people again. And so one of the great benefits of us being apart is that some of us have been able to reassess how we treat others and how we've been getting treated as well. And so that's a positive. That was a very long introduction into what we should be doing, I think, and the discussion point of tonight as the church is we've now been apart. And we are slowly but surely, many of us coming back together in the physical form. Hopefully all of us have been together in the virtual form, but we're coming back together in the physical form. What activities have we been doing that we needed to let die, similar to the harassment issues and other things like that? And so that's that. I think all of us need to make that honest assessment in all of our groupings of some of the things that we need to let go and need to let die. And one of the issues that we talked about last week is the one that I'll hop on first. Is one of the things that as we started gearing up and we got hot and heavy as far as the last couple of years, starting in 2015, 2016, 2017, is our lack of patience with one another. And I think that now that we've gotten back together, we didn't have to have patience with people because people aren't around. But now that we get back together, we need to understand that patience needs to be something that we continue to bring in. Our expedience to getting angry, we got to let that die. And so I don't think it helped us in church. It didn't help us in our communities to sit here and not be so patient with one another. Now more than ever, I think we have such diverse groups and diverse opinions on what's right and what's wrong, on what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And when we get into our environments of church, when we get into our environments of just groups of people who are supposed to be family and love one another, I think we get into that zone of we have to be extremely patient with the different um, ideas and opinions that people have. And so personally, when I looked over myself and I kind of evaluated myself and saw that that's one of the things that I am I was talking to my son who is very, very young, and I joked with him and I said, your father's a hater. And I'm a hater because there's a lot of things I don't like. Now, I may not, you can do whatever you want to do, but I am a hater in the sense of there's a lot of things that people do that man, I am not a fan. But what I'm not gonna do, and so now he runs around calling me a hater. But what I'm not gonna do is sit there and let those my dislike with some of the activities that other people do get in the way of my treating them with love, respect, kindness, and not judging them. Just because I don't like what you're doing, I don't judge what you're doing. Um, but not get in the way of what I need to do as a Christian and what we need to do as a church. And I think that that's been a problem that we've had recently, where there's people that we don't like or activities that people are doing that we don't like, and then we choose not to do what we're supposed to do in order to get in touch with them. And so we continue to let our personal opinions about people block our ability to do the work of the church. And you're like, no, the church doesn't do that. Well, real life example right now is if we're supposed to go out here masked up, if we're supposed to go out here and follow the CDC rules and regulations, and because our personal views or political views don't match up with someone else, are we going to let that block us from, either going and participating in church activities, going and participating in helping other people? Is that going to block us, or are we just going to put on our mask and put on our follow the rules and procedures and just go about our business? Um, the example that I heard, and I had heard some people, and they were talking about there's an arrogance that you should have as a Christian, that you don't have to worry about anything as long as you believe in God. God's got you, and you can go out here and you can do whatever. And so you don't need to follow any rules and put on a mask and do this and that, or we don't need to be nice, or we don't need to do anything because God has got us and we can do whatever we want. And that's why we can go out here and in our confidence walk into a dangerous situation, and we have God with us and we can speak to it. But I dare say that even though I've heard this conversation, I dare say we look at it maybe a little bit wrong. Just a little bit, where I want that same arrogance and that same confidence, in the sense that, God has got me, but it's to a different conclusion. God has got me, so I could wear a mask or not wear a mask, and it really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I'm still a Christian. God still got me. I still can do what I need to do. And so I shouldn't be, God has got me, so I don't have to be mean to people to make myself feel better, because I'm still the same person that, I'm still a Christian. God still got me. And so instead of using that confidence for bad, maybe use that confidence for good. And so I think that, some of us, especially the people who were making this argument of, you be brave and God's got you and you can do whatever. I think there's a little bit of opposite there. He's got you, so you don't have to worry about any of the little silly things that you do. Any of the silly work, you think the requirements are silly and you think this is silly. Well, it shouldn't matter. because God's got you. So it's easy for you to go ahead and do that. I can do whatever I need to do in order to get the job done. So if I got to wear a mask and I don't think I need to wear one, it's nothing. I can wear it because I'll get the job done. If I have to, get a shot in order to continue to spread the word or provide for other people, might as well do it because it's nothing. And so I think that that's where the arrogance should go versus the opposite way of I can do whatever. I don't need anything. You don't need anything, but you do it because it doesn't matter. It's not important to you. What's important to you is the end game and the end goal. And so, that's basically where we're at with that one, is making sure that we leave some of that more meaner activities in the past. Leave it with COVID. And so there's a lot of things that we need to leave with COVID. Leave in, maybe this is more of a 2022, 2021 type situation where people said leave in the last year. But there's some things as we come back together, we need to leave to the past. And so again, we've been apart. And because we've been apart, some of those same activities we haven't done we're in over a year. And we need to make sure that we continue those. To the people who have felt a relief over the past year and a half because they haven't had some of the mean and aggressive activities happen to them, we need to make sure that we aren't members of those mean and aggressive activities. And so then, for the individuals who now we're sitting here and we're coming back together, we have to decide who we want to be and what difference we're going to make. And I think for some of us, that'll be a little bit difficult, trying to realize that, hey, some of the negative stuff that we did, we just don't need to continue to do, and acknowledging that as well. All right. Last thing real quick. Since we don't have any comments today. Last topic real quick. Recently, what just recently happened, it really recently happened, was that there has been a renewed discussion on voting rights. And there has been a renewed discussion on the filibuster. And if you're really involved in the politics, what's happening right now is that there's a group of people who are trying to get the voting rights bill passed. And there's a group of people who really don't want the voting rights bill passed, for whatever reason. I bring this up, and I bring up the importance of this, again, because what will have to happen is in Congress, there's a filibuster, blah, 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 blah. There's just a bunch of stuff that's going on. I really don't want to have to break it down. But the important part of the message is right now, all of us should be focused on the fact that voting rights, and it's becoming increasingly important right now, that voting rights are under attack. And they're under attack twofold in two ways. One way is that voting rights are under attack by different legislatures in different locales who want to be able to change your vote or reject your vote based on politics, based on their opinion. If they don't like your vote, they basically can find a reason to get rid of your vote. So that's the first part. The second part has been gerrymandering. And if you're not aware what gerrymandering is, it's when they draw the lines or they draw the districts in which your representatives are elected. And so they draw up districts and draw up lines, and a representative represents that particular district, that particular area. And every so often, the legislators get to redraw the lines. And so the lines have been redrawn. And in many places, the lines have been redrawn in ways that disenfranchise people of color. Have strongly disenfranchised people of color, and they're doing this because, again, the Voting Rights Act has not passed. They were able to do this, and so the reason that I bring this up today is that because it's extremely important that in this time now, that whatever side of the political spectrum you're on is not important. What's important is that as people of faith, for me as people of color, um, it is important to make sure that we support those individuals, those politicians, and those organizations that are for fair voting and access to voting for everyone. Um, and so, this is my call out to everyone who may be listening within an earshot, that we need to get the voting rights bill passed. And when I say we, that's for everyone. Again, everyone, regardless of your political background, regardless of your political opinions. At the end of the day, when you vote, no one should be able to change whether or not your vote counts based on the fact that they disagree with your vote. No one should be able to disenfranchise you as a group of people just because they think that you may vote in a way that they don't like. So you shouldn't be able to gerrymander communities of color because you don't think that they're going to vote in the same way that you believe that they should vote. And so you want to take their power away. And so, everyone, I encourage you responsibly to sit back out here, support the efforts of the politicians who are trying to get voting rights passed. If you are a person who is all into social media, if you're a person who uses emails and writes letters, then make sure that you write letters and you do those emails or you do that social media towards these politicians who are now making these decisions. Every little bit helps. I know people always are saying, well, write your politician, and does that really affect and that really helps? I've done it. Honestly, I don't know. But don't sit back and say I didn't do anything. And so I encourage everyone to participate, whether it be with the local organizations, NAACP, Legal Defense Fund, any of these organizations who are fighting to make sure that every legal citizen has an opportunity to vote, and that your votes count regardless of your background, regardless of your political affiliation. And so I encourage you to participate in that. I know that's not normally something that we talk about, but that's something I think that's important because right now we're up against the clock. That if things really don't get passed now, we're going to be in a world of hurt, especially with elections coming up, the midterm elections coming up, as they say, coming up fast. And so we're going to soon see those results and soon see those situations. Comment: true democracy is in trouble. The right of the majority to govern is in trouble. And I think that's exactly where it is. And so it's important. It's important. And if you, let's be blunt, let's be real. There's some group of Republicans that really want to take away the opportunity for people to cast a vote, unless it's a Republican vote, or take away people of color's impact. And if you're a Republican, just remember, you won't always, if you have the legislature, you won't always have it. And there's been some long runs that some of these groups have had in some locations. But if you are, what happens when it flips? And then the other side has the ability to take away your vote because they don't like it and gerrymander your power away. And so, don't be so confident on either side that, all right, well, we on top now, let's make sure that we eliminate the other people's right to vote, and then we'll always be on top. It won't be that way. And so then when you're on the bottom, how are you going to be feeling it? And how are you going to get things changed then? So let's make things fair now. And let's make it voting should be about who basically talks to the voters, not about who can scheme and trick and treat and cheat their way to the top. And that's exactly what goes around comes around. And so, I encourage everyone, please write your legislators, write your politicians, participate and support organizations who are fighting for the voting rights bill. And let's make sure that it's just fair for everyone. Because regardless of what we do, the one thing that we've heard over and over and time again from people young and old who have participated on this show is that voting matters. And so that there's individuals who we want to vote out or individuals who we want to vote in. It won't matter if we don't have the right to vote. And it won't matter if the legislature can decide whatever they want to do, regardless of what the vote is when it comes in. And so if that's been a constant theme that we've talked about when it comes to, you have people in power who you don't think are supporting and putting along your agenda, it won't matter if your vote doesn't count. And your vote won't count if we're not allowed to get this voting rights bill passed. All right. Well, that's it for today. Next week, we will be back here, same time, same place. Next week, we will have a guest. Next week, we will dive into the topics that you want to hear about. And next week, just like this week, I hope that you continue to put in comments, put in your likes, and subscribe, and do all the good things that your social media does. But I thank you for being with us. I thank you for the participation. Again, my name is Nathaniel. This is Impact 2022. Have a good one.